Hi, it's Christy of So to Speak, and welcome back to the So to Speak Closet series. Great people do things before they're ready. That's one of my all-time favorite quotes by Amy Poehler, and it is the perfect way to introduce our next guest because she is just going for it. She is absolutely flying through that ring of fire, eyes wide open, yet admittedly scared and still doing it. And how often do we wait until something is perfect before we go and show it to the world? Or we wait until something's perfect and we find ourselves waiting forever, years down the road, and we're regretting that we didn't just go for it and not care if it was perfect. It's process. We talk about it all the time. It's progress. We talk about it all the time, but rarely do we really live that. And I hope that our next guest, who is local artist and musician Keren Vita, inspires you to, no matter what you are working on or something that's just itching like the back of your mind, like, oh, I've been wanting to do that for months or years, decades, that you just bite the bullet and you say, screw it, I'm just gonna sit down and do this, and I'm not gonna wait until it's perfect. I'm gonna put that blog post out, or I'm going to put that art piece out, or I'm going to start that business or start this project, or reach out to specific community members and get this advocacy going for specific members of our community that you want to help out, and just do it. I hope that she inspires you to just do it, because we need people who are taking the chance and going out on a limb and going out of their comfort zone so that we can be inspired to do the same thing. So I want to end Keren's intro with an excerpt from one of my all-time favorite writers on creativity, Julia Cameron. If you're familiar with her, it's probably from The Artist's Way. It's one of her most popular creativity books ever, and I reread it at least once a year and visit it multiple times a year because there's so many good nuggets in it. This one is Walking in the World. In this world, I just started it, and there was an excerpt of it that reminded me so much of Keren and so much of this whole message of inspiring each other, which is the whole point. And it goes like this. We are all like songbirds. When one of us gives voice to our true nature, it is contagious, and others soon give tongue as well. There is an infallibility to the law that as we each seek to express what we are longing to say, there is always someone or something that is longing to hear precisely what we have expressed. We do not live or create in isolation. Each of us is part of a greater whole, and as we agree to express ourselves, we agree to express the larger self that moves through us all. Love Julia Cameron. So good. So without further ado, please sit back, relax, and enjoy our conversation.
One thing that's cool about this experience, it's not cool really, it's the wrong word, but more so that we can understand that we really are all going through something very, very similar. So I felt through that. I did feel inspired because I was able to speak to people, as I was creating, especially in the location that I'm creating currently downtown in that location. I'm getting to hear bits and pieces of everybody else's story, because they're having, people are taking different lanes completely or completely rethinking their way of life and their outlook on things. And I was lucky enough to hear a lot of people's different views, and it kind of really, made the project that I was doing something greater than myself, I suppose. It was just, it became something else. And if it wasn't in this time period, I'm sure it wouldn't have taken that turn. So it's a blessing, I suppose, for some of us.
Yes, and
Yeah.
that is cool. Like, no apologies, I don't think. From what you gathered, I thought that was really cool. Maybe we all have different definitions for the word, but for you to be able to connect humanity in a stronger sense is what I gathered from you, and to be able to kind of pull back and gauge where everybody is while you're in the process of creating art, so you're you're Keren, you're also, as it sounds like, channeling what all's going on around you too
Totally.
onto this wall. So
Totally.
that's really freaking cool.
Totally. Yeah.
Can you, just for people who aren't aware of the mural project, like where it is and what inspired you, how that got?
Sure. Yes, absolutely. So the Adirondack Bank mural project that I'm participating in currently, it started taking shape in April of 2019. So it's been a very long road. And for me, you know, part of this being such a long journey is that, you know, as an artist, I've always been very quick. I draw very small. And I think also for that reason that I draw small is because I'm just impatient. I want it to be done. You know, is it also like an attention to detail and kind of a manic thing as well? But I think also part of that is that, yeah, you make it small, you're gonna get done quicker. But I think that's what I've been doing most of my life, and I found it really, really comfortable. So um, most of my projects haven't spanned this way at all, but again, it's a totally different thing. So a friend of mine named Meredith, she came into Peters, and she just kind of brought this idea to me, and she said that they were looking for an artist to work on this wall that was very, very big and very, very rough. And I said I'd take a look, so I did, and they were both those things, you know. And I was also putting together an art show at that time, so I didn't really know if I should say yes to it because I was feeling overwhelmed. So I thought, okay, maybe I'll say no to this. But then I realized it was because I was afraid, and because just the size of it alone, so massive. I'm really afraid of heights. Um, I don't paint either, and drawing little, you know, detailed images in pen on a flat piece of paper is vastly different than putting it on the wall. But they weren't asking me those things. They were saying, "Can you do it?" And I said, "Yeah." When I said yes to it, I was also saying yes to volunteering the generosity of many of my talented friends, and volunteering different strength in a different part of my own brain. So when I said yes, I was saying yes to all those things, and to even more things that I didn't quite figure out until we were like in the thick of it. One of my really good friends is named Steve. He has a restoration place out in Frankfurt, and he's provided all the equipment for me. New Berlin Golden Paints, they donated all the paint for my project. I just sent an email, and you know, and I use their paint through college. So it's not like it's just some paint place. It's like it's quality mural paint. And so they donated all that to me. I wanted a time lapse done because I wanted to somehow capture some of the vastness of the project. And so my friend Aaron Year, one of my best friends in the whole world, he's got a production company out of Barneveld called Image House Productions, very talented, and he just volunteered to do it. So prior to COVID and the pandemic and everything, we were really moving along, you know, with that. And so a good bit of it is on film. So that's really, really awesome. But if you have a dream and you're trying to make it come true, and it's a big, big, big old dream, utilizing everybody that you know, those relationships you've worked on along the way, you should reach out and use those. It's, you know, benefited me for sure.
Vastly, like so evident. I mean, you just gave shameless plugs and very honorable plugs for so many people, and so I guess I'm wondering too. I love that. I can see the whole thing, and it's just an amazing collaboration that became so organic, and it came. So there's so many things from this, right? Like, let's back up that you have never painted, and especially on something this grand of us. And if you said no out of fear, nothing that you just said to me would have ever happened.
Right.
None of it would have taken place. Like, no, you wouldn't have been able to even you love these people already, you know, your friends who are helping you, but chances are your love has gotten even stronger and your bond has
Right.
gotten even stronger from this endeavor. And I'm assuming that is that,
Very accurate.
you know, and it's
It's
because
very
you said
accurate,
yes
for
here,
sure.
here. Like you said,
That's
yeah,
the thing.
it's so amazing. Can you talk to that? Can you speak to that a little bit about like,
Sure,
that's my
for
question
sure.
was like, um, did you feel, and this actually, now that I'm hearing your story, this may not be part of it, but just in case, did you feel that by collaborating and having this posse with you helped you go through your fear of doing it? And just, if
Oh
you
yeah,
just talk about the whole collaboration process.
totally. Yeah. No, so I just want to back up and say that I have painted before, obviously. Like I've had my hand at painting. I've painted a mural for, like as a donation, you know, more so, but I'm just not, I would never say I'm a painter. And, you know, when they hired me, I think that's what they kind of assumed, you know, so I guess in that way, I don't consider myself a painter, but yes. So, but moving forward with with fear in particular, saying yes to fear and collaborating with other people. I was, you know, it makes you nervous to go into something you feel alone. I think that part of fear is this feeling of just being by yourself. And just going in with my crew, like you said, it does make you feel a bit safer. And I did feel that safety because part of it is just like the love you feel from your friends. That's that simple and this reminder. But at the end of it all, when when I look up at this wall and I realize that, all of it came from my hand, and that, but I still really needed all that support. I really, really did. And it's like, that's why when I look up at this thing that I'm making, I don't see just me, because it's when we grow, it's hard to say, you can't really put words to it, really. It's more of a feeling, and it's also, the comfort has turned into a confidence and like more so a strength. A lot of times I'd be up, I use a sky jack, so it brings me up like 20 feet in the air, and you're left alone with your thoughts a lot of the time, and I feel like a bird when I'm up there. And I'm painting, this mural is about birds and the peregrines and all these things, but um, when you're left there alone with your thoughts and it's just you and that wall, you can go a few different places. It can get very dark, in fact. And I compare it to like, there's the Wailing Wall in Jerusalem, where they go like to pray and they wail and they put their notes to whomever, in between the cracks and everything. And this wall, it's still in very rough shape. As I paint, little bits are falling off. They could never really restore it the way I needed it to be, realistically, with the budget that I had. So some of it can be very mentally taxing, because some of it I realize, okay, maybe it's going to fall off a bit. And this sacrifice to perfection, because I'm dealing with this surface that's like this. And so um, I was approaching the wall with this fear. Even with all the support that I received from people for months, I still was entering this space with fear, instead of realizing that there was just so much to learn and so much to do, that there was just no time for it. Fear is like always going to be there, but if you don't give it time or you don't water it, it's just not going to grow. And so I kind of suppressed it in that, even putting one paint stroke on there is a project, to focus more on how I was going to get that on the wall, in the way I wanted it to. And so I just had to throw myself like completely in, and let it mold me, basically. And of course, when you begin a project, it's very scary. And when you end a project, very confusing, but there's been certain signs like along the way that I've realized I can't ignore. I've been hearing it a lot clearer and just paying attention to these little signs to help me move forward, and it helps me suppress that fear. Is this good enough? Have I put enough time? Is this going to be the right thing? Is this the right color? So many different decisions. Another thing is color. Actually, I don't like to work with color at all. And so
really?
that was scary for me to put color into it. That was a whole different fear.
So you're hitting all of your fears on this huge
all
macro level on this huge wall, and like,
right.
I'm wondering if you said suppress your fear, but I'm wondering if you're releasing it and not suppressing it.
I hope so.
It sounds very faithful. It sounds like you're having faith in the science. Like, okay, you said
right.
at the beginning that this is bigger than you. Hearing the fact that you were able to incorporate and reach out, no pun intended, since you're based at a little plug there. What's the address, Keren?
300 Catherine Street, Utica, New York.
There you go. Beautiful. All right. So you incorporated your friends, but then also it sounded like you were saying people who will walk by, who will engage in conversation with you. You'll
oh my God, yeah.
naturally bring them in. So there's this sense of our community is in this wall, and our community is going through you. And there's something that I feel when you are able to, I'm hearing major humility too, like all over you, for sure. And I feel that there's something to be said when you're wise enough to pay attention to the signs and to be tapped in enough to know that it is bigger than you, that allows you to just create beautiful work that you may not even realize, like, oh wow, I don't even remember doing that, because
totally
you're in that space, which is just, I live for that space.
It's like a dream.
It's a dream. So can you just speak, for creatives, it's, I think, our high, right? Yeah. Our natural high. I do think it's accessible to, and it's a birthright for every single human being. Can you just speak to that a little bit? If you have any practices to get you there, or what that experience is like when you do hit that major flow where it is like, it's a visceral,
yeah. It's a combination of things. It's like when you realize that every detail is a part of that experience, like even the sound, you put in the right music, it's going to take you a certain direction. But then there are times when, and there are days when I don't put the headphones in because someone needs to be heard. Because I feel like it's like a therapy session for myself and for some people who come to see me. I noticed that, the people, when they come stand next to, they'll come stand 20 feet down and talk to me, and I'm talking to them, and we're looking at this thing together. Usually the conversation leads to a really beautiful place, because when people are inspired, like it's, people start to dig, and when you start to dig, it's like a tunnel. And I have had the most incredible experiences down there. I've cried for I've cried with sorrow, and I've cried with joy. It's like I've experienced all of those things, and people have come, and some people, some homeless folks, a lot of homeless folks down in that area. I've gotten to have some really amazing conversations with them. A lot of the conversations are very similar to somebody I might be talking to who's getting out of their Rolls Royce, who's parked at the bank there working in the building. We're all very much the same. We're all very much the same. Of course, I have this level of comfort because I'm up in the sky. I don't have a fear. Say if someone is a bit unsavory and they're coming along, whatever. I'm up here, so it gives me this sense of power and protection. But it's also really cool because I can step away from myself because I can't help it that I'm a woman, or and I'm alone in the dark. I'm nervous, whatever. But when you're there, you can really speak to people as they are. You start to see them as they are, and it's cool. So many different people, and people. Some guy came and told me about how he got sober, and just like a lot of different um, stories that I will certainly never forget. And some of them haven't ended. There's certain people that come visit me, and they may need a buck or two or whatever. And if I have it, it's usually not just that one exchange. It's like something deeper. So I found that I'm building different kinds of relationships down there, and hopefully helping people build a different kind of relationship with how they view art, because they, like you said, every human being that is breathing, um, I believe, is an artist. I really, really do. Some people just really have no idea what it is that gets them there, or what that high is for them. A lot of people will talk to me about their family and how inspired they are by whomever in their life who can also, uh, who's a visual artist. And I just see what it does to people, and it is so special. It really, because first of all, some folks are sitting, in their offices staring at another brick wall through the window. I like
Yeah.
to be able to give them that moment of, it seems like we're experiencing this moment of peace or something. Like even people who are walking from one place to another, like, this guy is being a little sketchy, is going from here to here, but in between, here I am. And we meet along the way, and it seems like it's a break from reality. Maybe it's my reality, but for some people it's like
Sure.
it's so foreign to them. They don't know what is going on most of the time, and people are always like, what in the hell, I'll look back at them and I'll say, ditto. I don't know. I don't know.
Looking down, just like,
Yeah.
yes, as good as mine.
Yeah, I'm like, not sure, or people, are you crazy? And I'm like, oh gosh, there's not a word for it. I'm
Okay.
trying to think of it now. But another thing that people bring up to me all the time is the birds, because the mural is it's a commission representing the peregrine falcons, which are the fastest birds in the world. When you're doing commission work, you can't be as wily as I like to be usually, and I realize that's the difference between when you're given a task. And I guess this is the grown up part for me. It's the part where you say, okay, am I doing the task? Am I also being enough of myself?
Yes.
As well. So that is, if I was given this task, me, and for a reason, and nobody outside my body or outside my hands can do what I can do. And so, of course, it makes you understand that, the power that we each have, and that control that we have too. And then, with power, like Spider-Man said, great responsibility. And I think it is a huge responsibility. I think that's what I want to, I'm always trying to show people about art, or why it's a serious thing, and why it's so instrumental and so pivotal. Like not an option in school, not like just some elective or something like that. Like I realize for me, it saved my life. I think it's supposed to save everyone. I think it's the only thing that's going to survive all of this, like, to be totally honest. And I was having a really hard time deciding what colors to use, and just felt so tormented by it. And so I painted on some of the colors and everything, and then, like, without realizing it, I just realized it, like, after I did it, was that I had, like, unknowingly painted the LGBTQ colors. So I put the pride flag basically as the colors. Some of it, some of it is planned out, and then some of it is just for me to find out.
And to be
And
willing to surrender to
yeah,
that, which is
right.
where we, so when you say that, like willing, well, you didn't say willing, I did, but that's what I was gathering from you, was allowing to be found out. So having that graceful, which is a really tricky balance of having the structure as an artist of what you want, whether it's on a page or a wall or a dance floor, and then leaving so much in between up for interpretation of whatever channel comes through you.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And so
Mm-hmm.
being willing
Mm-hmm.
to just say, oh, wow, I did not have that planned. And like
Yep,
you said earlier,
exactly.
right, color isn't something that you usually go towards. So you're hitting all of
Right.
these fears. And my perspective on that is like, whatever you believe in. So this is a whole other conversation. I would love to meet an artist who is an atheist. And maybe you know of one. I don't
Mm-hmm.
know how anyone could be agnostic, sure, but not believing in anything. What's coming through you? Like, how can you explain what comes out of you then?
Right.
There needs to be a higher power of some sort coming through you.
Mm.
I don't, I'm very black and white about that. I actually am very curious. I would love to meet, if you know any atheist. Are you an atheist?
I don't think I could say that I am, but
Okay.
I'm not. I was raised, in the church and all these things, but I'm not. I don't associate with any religion. Definitely not.
Sure.
But I'm deeply spiritual, of
So
course.
that's what I'm talking about. I'm
Yeah.
not talking about any religious anything. I'm saying
Right.
straight up spiritual, higher power, powers that be, source,
Mm,
spirit, whatever you want to call it. Um, I,
right. I don't.
I'm
You're
curious.
right. I don't know any. I don't know
I
any
would love
artists
to.
that.
I would love to meet
Yeah.
you, because if you're listening and you're an atheist and you're a creative, or you know of any, send them my way. I want to have I would love to hear
Yeah.
a perspective on that, because
Right.
I feel like that goes back to everything, not everything, but the little moments that we were talking about, channeling through something that's bigger than you, allowing, the LGBT colors to come out when you didn't even process that. And
Right.
when you're hitting your fears, this is what made me think of it. Your fear of painting and your fear of this magnitude of painting. It's not
Mm-hmm.
just like even a storefront window, right? It's a huge wall.
Right.
The texture is just all wonky, so it's not
Right.
in your favor, quote unquote, I guess, in your favor. And then
Mm-hmm.
and then paint. So you're hitting all of these fears. The way I process that is that whatever power that be is there is like, all right, Keren, you not like they're testing us, but like kind of like, okay, cool. Now look what happened. You were willing to do this and
Right.
go through all these rings of fire. Here's what
Right.
here's what's coming out of that. And there's so much more from what you said that's so internal to you, that's coming out for you from this, like such a deepening, soulful experience.
Very much so.
You can sense that from you.
It's well, I think we're all on a journey to love ourselves. Obviously, it's like very, there's some things that are pretty simple. I think that's one thing that we can all agree on. We all just want to figure out how can we love ourselves a little bit more. It's like I just realized I couldn't take on this task, or I tried to do it without trying to love myself, and it didn't work because I've been working on this for months, and I've seen the difference between when you decide that you're going to allow that love in or you're not. And when you don't, it's a disservice to you and many others, for sure. I'm putting together a YouTube channel that's going to parallel my experiences in my life as I go along with my dad's stories that he's told me
Oh,
throughout my life. He's told me so many cool stories, and I know myself that I'm not great at telling a story from beginning to end, but I'm good at telling a story. And he's told me an endless amount, and I'll never run out. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to begin slow and parallel it with everything that I'm experiencing throughout my life as a musician. My dad learning English through Western movies and Italian opera, and listening to him sing Italian opera as a kid, this little Chinese man.
So he learned English through the Westerns?
through westerns, through just western movies in general, because back in like 50, he was born in the 30s, but their connection with the western world was through musicals and through Italian opera, because Italian opera was so prevalent in a lot of American musicals. And so that's what I grew up with as a kid. And I think as an adult now, I'm realizing, of course, we always realize this is how our history really makes us exactly who we are. And so I just felt like it wasn't the story I wanted to tell, just mine. And my dad, he changed his name when he came to this country. His name was Yoka Oyang, and he changed it to Nova Vita, which is Italian for new life. So I thought, how fitting, So my YouTube channel will be called Nova Vita,
Yeah. Like I can't
about
even handle.
about everybody trying to find a new life. I mean, if it's not on a daily, I think everybody every single day has an idea of what they want their life to be. And I'm not saying I'll find like at the beginning there'll be a problem and I'll be able to find the solution at the end. But I just want to share my experience and how my outlook has been molded through what my dad has been through, what my parents have been through, and I just know that that's part of my purpose. So, like, this is the corner. And thank you for giving me the opportunity to share that. But
Thank
and
you
another
for sharing it. Thank you
no
for
problem.
doing it. Thank your dad for just giving
Yeah,
the okay to do it.
yeah,
So some parents, grandparents would not want. I, they just wouldn't want to share that private part of their lives. So just
mm-hmm.
thank you for shining such a light on so many
I do
avenues.
want to announce that, of course, it's up in the air about if we're going to be able to do it or not. But I do want to plan on an October 3rd art show at Incorporated Studios, 300 Catherine Street, because we do want artists to start thinking about. And if it can't happen on the date, it can't. But it's 2 days before my birthday, and I'm planning it and kind of being a celebration, end of the mural kind of thing, and end of whatever. If we have to change this time, we will. But I just wanted to put that out there.
So October 3rd, artist.
October 3rd.
Okay.
Yeah, artists just start to, if you can start reaching out to me and, showing me some of what you've been doing over the pandemic. I'm really interested to see. I think everyone would be interested to see. I think it's really important to be honest with yourself, and also to find some way to expose yourself in some way, like just to really be raw. And to in order to tear down those walls, you have to be willing to be criticized and to be afraid and to get through some of those things. Because if I hadn't said yes to the wall, if I hadn't said yes to those fears, I just guarantee, like you said, none of these blessings and none of these projects and the inspiration, it just wouldn't be here. It wouldn't be, it's a shame to miss out on those things. So I do think, if you know that you love something, do it in a big way that could possibly embarrass you, and as big as you possibly can. And I think it's really important to do so. It's important to be uncomfortable to get to where we need to be.